the session on applying the Kaizen model, for continuous improvement in supply chain management. Before we dive right in, a couple of things I'd like to mention. For the first one being the polls. Please, at the end of this session, please go to the polls and then rate the speaker from 1 to 5, 5 being excellent and 1 being expected better. And then also, always remember to go and visit the booths. We've got some exceptional exhibitors here today, and it's always great to have a nice discussion about one of the offerings that we have at SAPIX. Then finally, after the session, you can go and have a chat with Vincent in the VIP room to discuss further. During the course of the talk, please also put in any questions in the discussion forum on the right-hand side, and I'll read them out at the end, provided we have time at the end of the session. So let me start. Let me dive straight in. I'm going to introduce Vincent Ngwimbi, who is a senior consultant with the Kaizen Institute in Kenya. He's fluent in English and French, and Vincent has worked with various multinational companies, both in operations management and managerial positions, from SAGA, SDV, Bolloré Africa Logistics, and Nestle. There's quite a lot more in his CV there, but we also need to introduce Piyush Sood, who may be joining us. It depends on whether he can get internet. He's currently in Ethiopia, and if you have if you know what's going on there, you know that he may or may not be with us. But Piyush Sood is a consultant with the Kaizen Institute as well. He has extensively worked in East Africa, Southeast Asia, and India for lean and operational excellence projects, cutting across many sectors, including health supply chains, hospitals, FMCG, garment factories, and flower farms. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Vincent Ngwimbi to start his presentation. Thanks, Vincent.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon. So welcome to this today, November 24th. So the topic of today is applying the Kaizen Change Model for continuous improvement in supply chain management. So by showing that you can see on the screen is what should you attack and reduce, and what should you build? As you can see on this picture, on the left, we can see somebody who has got quite some fat. And on the right, we have somebody who's showing muscles. So this is exactly what we are going to talk today as we talk about Kaizen and lean in supply chain, that what we should reduce, what we should attack is fat in the supply chain, fat in organizations, and fat is what we call muda. Muda, M-U-D-A, meaning waste, W-A-S-T-E. So this is what we have to eliminate in the same way somebody who's exercising on a regular basis, and we have to build on muscles. Now, if you look at this picture, you will see that on this picture, this gentleman is well-dressed. He's working in an office in front of his computer. Everything seems to be perfect. Everything seems to be okay, to be fine. But in fact, this is kind of top of the iceberg. Because if you look now at what is really on this picture, you will see the mess around this person working in front of his computer. And this is exactly what we're going to look at to say that as we are looking at the supply chain and how to apply Kaizen or lean or operational excellence, we should not only look at the tip of the iceberg, but go beyond that to try and understand what is the real situation and to try and understand what is the root cause of any issue that we'll have in our supply chain. Okay, the first rule, as we are trying to apply Kaizen to the supply chain or lean or operational excellence, rule number one is to go to the Gemba. The Gemba is the workplace. The Gemba means the real place. The Gemba is where value is added. So if we are working in an office, we are working in a factory, we are working in any environment, the Gemba is where value is added, and value is added to an organization, to a business. Now, as we go to the Gemba and apply this rule number one, as you go to the Gemba, we will meet real people. As we are going to the real place, we will meet real people. We will have real data. We'll have real understanding of our problems, and we'll come with real solutions. So going to the Gemba is our rule number one. Now, let's come to Kaizen. So what is Kaizen and what does it mean? So we as Kaizen Institute, what is our mission? Kai means change. Kai means change, and Zen means better. So Kaizen is change for the better or continuous improvement. So anything that we'll do in our organization is to try and see how we can continuously improve. Now, Kaizen happens in an organization, in a business, at the workplace. So what we do as we are an organization, we are a business, any business, is that Kaizen is for everybody in the organization. It is every day. It is everywhere, which means that as Kaizen practitioners, we are all concerned by Kaizen. It is our concern. We do it every day, and we do it in all departments of the organization. So Kaizen is every day, everybody, every day, everywhere. It is not, as we used to say, anybody, any day or someday and anywhere. Everybody, every day, everywhere. Now, let's move to a very important question. We talked about Kaizen. We can say Kaizen in the Western world, and in particular in the US, it is more known as lean, or we can say operational excellence. So now let's pause a little bit on this word, on this term excellence. Why excellence? Why do we mean excellence today? The main reason why we need excellence, we need to remain competitive. We need to remain in the race. But it's more than that. And in particular, in these times, troubled times of COVID-19, it is, we need excellence just to stay afloat, just to survive. If we want our organization to survive, then excellence is needed, and excellence is a must. In other words, excellence is not a choice, but excellence is now a must. No excellence, no survival. Now, let's move from excellence to talk about waste, W-A-S-T-E, waste or muda. So until now, I've used two Japanese words. The first is Gemba, go to the Gemba, go to the real place where the value is added. The second word or term, or in the Kaizen terminology that we're using today, is muda. Muda means waste. So what is muda? Muda is any activity the customer is not prepared to pay for. In other words, when we talk about muda, we are talking about non-value added activities. So, in other words, Kaizen, we said, is change for the better, is continuous improvement, but Kaizen also means Muda hunt. Hunt as the hunter, H-U-N-T. So what we'll do in our organization, in our business, in our supply chain, is to look for any opportunity to remove the muda, to remove the waste from the supply chain. So we call it muda hunt, like the hunter in the forest. Okay, so we are hunting for muda, looking at all opportunities. Now, what is important for us to bear in mind and to remember is when we talk about muda or waste, it is of three kinds in the supply chain. As you can see it on this picture, on this slide, we have muda in general. As you can see, that the first truck on the top is not entirely used, but only partially. So that is waste in general. Then we have muda as a variation. Any type of variation that we have in the supply chain, we have to question it. If we have, in particular, big variations, then we have to ask ourselves the question why we have such a big variation, and what is hidden behind that variation. Then we have muri, which is overburden. Muri, which means that overburden or overload. And coming back to the first type of muda, as we have muda as waste, so that is the general definition of muda. Then we have muda as variation, in particular big variations, and we have muri as overburden. Now, in relation to the first muda on top, we have what we call the 7 types of muda, the 7 types of waste that we look at and that we look at in the supply chain. So, which are those 7 types of muda? So, those 7 types of muda, and that we'll see in our supply chain, the first one is transportation, which means any kind of unnecessary transportation. Transportation is a must. We have to transport, right? But when it becomes unnecessary, then we have to look for ways to reduce it. Then we have inventory, meaning inaccurate inventory. Okay, and we say that inaccurate inventory is the mother of all waste, of all muda. Then we have unnecessary motion, unnecessary waiting. We have overproduction, overprocessing, which means any process that we do more than necessary. For instance, if we are taking in some commodities in our warehouse and it's going through a quarantine process, and instead of process once, but we do it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, then it becomes a waste. Then we talk about defects, any kind of defects that we can have on our products, maybe on the packaging, maybe on the defect or on the product itself. Now, having said that, so, and as we said before, what we're going to apply in the value stream is to remove the muda from the value stream. So what we are trying to do is to have a muda-free value stream, which is a lean value stream. When you say a muda-free value stream, this is a lean value stream. So in summary, in a nutshell, what we can say is that Kaizen is the pathway to lean. The more we do Kaizen in the supply chain, the more we are looking for opportunities to remove muda, the more we are becoming lean. Remember our first picture, the fat and the muscle. Now, so let's come to what is supply chain and distribution. This is straightforward because there's nothing very particular. We all know about supply chain. Suppliers on one end, here on this slide on the left hand, we have customers on the right hand, and in between, of course, we have transportation, we have factory, we have warehouses at different levels, like national level warehouses, regional ones, district warehouses, consumer warehouses, etc. So this is a typical supply chain in which, of course, we'll have the flow of material, and of course, we also have the flow of information and other flows as well. Now, as we said today, that we're going to see how we can then apply Kaizen. We said as we look for opportunities to remove the muda, the waste from our supply chain, then we can make our supply chain to become lean, our value streams. We are looking at a model that we call total flow. So with the total flow management model, we look at what we said to eliminate the muda, so the waste. And in this model, what we usually apply, it is applied to production flow. So it is in 3 modules, in 3 parts. The production flow, we have internal logistics flow, we have external logistics flow. But because today we are focusing on the supply chain, so supply chain means here is specifically external logistics flow. So what do we have in the external logistic flow? We have storage and warehouse design, micron, inbound and sourcing, outbound and delivering, total pool planning. So in other words, the question that we are now asking, what are the elements from Kaizen that we can apply to the supply chain, and in particular, all the external logistics flow, in order to eliminate the waste and to have 100% value added activities. So as I was saying just a minute ago, in the external logistics flow, we have storage and warehouse design, micron, inbound and sourcing, outbound delivering, and total pool planning. So in doing that, what are the advantages? What are the benefits in applying Kaizen to the supply chain? So among the benefits that we have, of course, we'll have an improved visibility, we have improved warehouse layouts, simplified warehouse processes, we'll have expiry reduction, improved governance, and on top of that, we also have a culture of continuous improvement, reduced inventories, and of course, more efficiencies and improved motivation. So now, in a nutshell, let's look at the 5 elements of external logistics flow. So in other words, how can we apply Kaizen to the supply chain to obtain good results by removing the waste, muda? So the first one, as we are saying, when we talk about the targets, and as you said before, first target and very important one is to minimize inventory, to have more than 98% on-time delivery, also to eliminate all types of muda in the movements of operators working in a warehouse, for instance, and of course to minimize logistic costs. Now, and what is also important is to look at the customer level what is important for the customer and what is also important in the supply chain. One element that is very important, and that is element number one of external logistics flow, is our warehouse design. So our warehouse design, our warehouse has to be designed in a way that eliminates waste. In other words, action number one that we have to take in warehouse design is to organize our warehouse by value streams. And the other thing that we can also do is to have a flow-oriented layout. So which means that we have to know in which way, in which direction all the flows are going. We also have to do a good segregation of the warehouse as to be able to use our bins in an optimal manner and apply the visual management principle and standardization. And also, we have to see how we can implement daily work management principles in the warehouse by having, for instance, a daily operation review for the warehouse to look after the key performance indicators on a daily basis. Then, the second thing that we can also do, and that is our second element, is to look at the milk run, or what we call the milk run. So how we can organize the routes, how we can have, let's say, a logical way, the best way of organizing all the transport system that we have of our trucks. So why the reason why we call it milk run, if you know about what happens in some villages and in some parts of the world where you have in a village somebody on a bicycle from house to house to collect empty buckets or empty containers, and then goes to and comes back to deliver the same to her or his customers, then that person has a high interest in organizing the routes very well, and also the itineraries very well, so as not to lose time or to put in more effort than needed. So that's the idea behind milk runs. Now, also, we have to organize, so that is item number 3, our inbound flows well. So how are we receiving our commodities? For instance, we have to ask ourselves the question, is it necessary in some instances that we receive all the commodities in the warehouse, or can we use some? How can we optimize also the distance between our supplier and ourselves, and also on and how can we organize ourselves or our warehouses in a way to accept commodities that are above given let's say a span of life for our products. Most of the times we say that we cannot accept products with a lifespan below 75%. So all those are opportunities that we can use to reduce the muda or the waste from our processes. Then number 5 is the total pool planning. So is to base our supply chain on the principle of replenishment, which is pool planning, as opposed to push planning. So as to reduce the bullwhip effect in our supply chain, understand what is the need of the customer, so the consumption of the customer, and also to be able to replicate the same on the side of the supplier, to be able to have a good ordering and the delivering process. So now on the planning side, so this will be my last slide. On the planning side, we have some elements that I've spoken about and how we can make a comparison between the pull and the push systems. And Kaizen, of course, is in favor of the pull, not the push, which means that we have to understand what are the real orders and the real consumption. We have to understand and optimize the flows, and as much as possible, we have to organize all our warehouses and depots in supermarkets. So now I would like just to finish with maybe showing you what we have done in some of the countries. So I have like 20 minutes left. So just allow me to go and show you one or two things before we want to share with you one or two case studies in which we have applied this Kaizen. Okay. Okay, so we have been working for a few years now in the sector of the supply chain of medicines, and in particular in the public sector in a few countries in Africa. So here we have a case of Kenya, where we are working with the KEMSA, which is the KEMSA Medical Supply Authority, to try and improve their processes using the Kaizen methodology. So we have gone to work with KEMSA and apply all these principles. Now I'm showing, for instance, what we have applied in terms of daily work management, what we call daily Kaizen boards, and the results have been tremendous in the sense that by having key performance indicators in the warehouse, by meeting on a daily basis, by reviewing their issues, and by planning, the teams there have been able to not only understand their issues, plan their work, apply the PDCA process, so can do, check, act, and the results have been tremendous in terms of performance of the number of medicine picked on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and also in service delivery. So I would stop here. We are just we are the same in about 15 countries in Africa. So I would expect some questions also on that. Yeah, so thank you very much for listening to this long presentation.
Thank you, Vincent. I have a question here in the discussions. Are there specific metrics used to apply the Kaizen model? What are they, if any?
Okay. We have what we call an umbrella KPI, okay, which is on time, in full, and free. Time, full, and error free. So OTIF, on time. We are applying the is the following: how can we reach or be able to fulfill this KPI of on time, in full, and error-free? So below this umbrella KPI, we then feel the supply chain that want to support, and then we then try to understand the issues, and from the issues we help them set illnesses in the supply chain. One of the illnesses is called expiry. The other illness is called overstock. The other illness is called late delivery. So what we do is to go and look at the supply chain. If that supply chain has a problem on expiry, then we can set up a KPI on levels of expiries, then expressed either in terms of quantity, but most of the times it comes at the same time in terms of quantity and in monetary terms as well. And also we look at the capacity of warehouses, and we look at the late delivery, and in particular and to go through. But that's, at this point, I think that's the answer I can give. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I have a question, and it's always an interesting discussion. What is how does, you may have seen around the conference, there's been a lot of talk about demand-driven MRP over the last couple of years. How does it integrate to this? Is there a melting point, or do you prefer sticking to the pure Kaizen?
Okay. Thank you for the question and for the floor. I think I'm privileged in the sense that I've worked with MRP, and I've worked with also based on pull. I will tell you that the MRP, when as being based on forecasts only, okay, so we have the principle is to have you sit in a room working for a multinational, sit in a room, look at figures, look at the history, have the forecast, and from the forecast, and we start our procurement, let's say, activities, and then based on forecast. Even the companies that used to work a lot on MRP nowadays are turning to the pull system, which means that not only we have to base ourselves on forecasts in the needs of the customer as much as possible. Even go if you look at FMCG products, for instance. Okay, I will not. The endeavor now is to understand even what is consumed from the shelf. So it's really the pull from the shelf in the supermarket that you have. Yeah, in the supermarket you have a pull from the shelf. Then from the store of the supermarket, we replenish exactly what has been pulled from the shelf. Then from the store, we order the same quantity from suppliers. Of course, in making sure that we are looking at safety stock. That's the best. But also, I would say pull system informed by some history based on the forecast. So that's, I think, the answer at this point. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any other questions in the audience? Can you maybe at the end, what are some of the specific improvements? So what are some of the figures that you improved at KEMSA? I know KEMSA has made some serious positive strides of late. So what are some of the specific metrics you've been able to improve there?
Okay. I will, okay. Order turnaround time. Order turnaround time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When we started with KEMSA, we started there June, July, end of June. The order turnaround time was more or around 34 days. Okay, 34 days. Now, after a few months working with KEMSA, it has come down to less than 20 days. Wow. Which means, in actual sense, that, in Kenya, there are 47 counties, right? So it took around 2 months a county, the province, to receive their orders. With less than 20 days, able to receive order in 1 month. The direct translation of improvement, and that improvement has taken place because we have worked with the teams on the ground, with the teams in the warehouse, for them to look, understand and look for improvements to remove all the waste from the supply. Kaizen is not a top-down that we say, you guys, this is what you have to do, but rather it's a culture change that we have to understand together what are the opportunities for change, and then we work together. We are this in S. So that now it's not, so it will take, but we can see clearly in the trend that it is improving. And the other very, let's say, clear improvement also that we have seen is on resource issues like absenteeism have gone down, because in the Kaizen daily meetings, what I call daily Kaizen meetings, the key performance indicator, the first one is attendance. So each team now is tracking the attendance on a daily basis. And of course, when you have the manpower, it will improve what we call the 4M. So man, machine, material, and method. A lot, but three, I think, great improvement and more are to come at Ken. Okay.
Great. Thanks, Vincent.
You're welcome.
I can't stress enough how important that culture change is, and working with the people on the ground floor. Totally agree with you. Thanks so much for that talk about the Kaizen model, and well done on the achievements you've had so far with the public healthcare sector. It's one of the great parts of working with public healthcare sector is that few times in your life you get to actually change people's lives for the better through what you do. So really well done, Vincent.
Thank you very much.
final words, please go onto the poll and rate Vincent's presentation, and please go and enjoy the booths and the networking that's available here at SAPEX. That's why we're all here. Thanks, everyone. Hope you enjoyed.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.